Welcome to this episode of Social Distance Television, the show funded during the COVID-19 scare to make our students more aware.
From news to schoolwork, everything is constantly changing, and it's hard to keep up with it all. We're here to bring you with the latest updates on current events as well as various student-made segments, so enjoy.
I'm Devin Handy.
And I'm Elena Pittman,
And you're watching SDTV. On today's show, we'll hear from the Fear Desk, watch some Boredom Busters, and check out a style tip. But first, let's see what's in the news.
As we reported last week, Governor Hogan announced Maryland would begin a slow reopening. He also gave Maryland counties the power to continue stay-at-home orders as they deemed appropriate for their communities.
It should be noted that because counties have this power, Montgomery County will not be joining in that reopening process as of now.
Last Friday, the Montgomery County Council voted to approve Mark Elrich's executive order to extend stay-at-home order indefinitely with no set date for when our county will begin to reopen.
A quick look at the COVID-19 conditions in this area, and it becomes clear to why we may be in this position for a while. Confirmed cases in Montgomery County rose 21% last week.
On Saturday, the class of 2020 was treated to Graduate Together, an American televised commencement special that was simulcasted on the major television networks and online. Special appearances were made by Dua Lipa, H.E.R., Zendaya, Shaquille O'Neal, Yara Shahidi, and Pharrell Williams, and YBN Corday.
There are plenty of standout moments. LeBron James implored the class of 2020 to stay close to home. James said that the world has changed. You will determine how we rebuild, and I ask that you make your community your priority.
Undoubtedly, some Cleveland fans have mixed feelings about that message given LeBron is currently an LA Laker.
True, but let's not forget that James did open the I Promise School, a public elementary school in his home community of Arkin, Ohio.
In another moment, Malala Yousafzai, who is missing her graduation from Oxford University, asked viewers to remember the young women who will be forced into marriages and low-paying jobs. Quote, "As you go out and change the world, don't leave them behind," Malala said.
1. It doesn't matter how much money you make if everyone around you is hungry and sick. 2. Society and democracy only work when we think about each other and not just about ourselves. And 3. It turns out that they, the adults in charge, do not have all the answers. And a lot of them aren't even asking the right questions. Let's have a listen.
But what remains true is that your graduation marks your passage into adulthood, the time when you begin to take charge of your own life. It's when you get to decide what's important to you, the kind of career you want to pursue, who you want to build a family with, the values you want to live by. And given the current state of the world, that may be kind of scary. If you'd planned on going away for college, getting dropped off at campus in the fall, that's no longer a given. If you are planning to work while going to school, finding that first job is going to be tougher. Even families that are relatively well off are dealing with massive uncertainty. Those who were struggling before, they're hanging on by a thread. All of which means that you're going to have to grow up faster than some generations. This pandemic has shaken up the status quo and laid bare a lot of our country's deep-seated problems, from massive economic inequality to ongoing racial disparities to a lack of basic health care for people who need it. It's woken a lot of young people up to the fact that the old ways of doing things just don't work. That it doesn't matter how much money you make if everyone around you is hungry and sick, and that our society and our democracy only work when we think not just about ourselves, but about each other.
In SDTV news, this Friday's show, our 15th, will be our last for this season. Our senior members of staff are getting ready for graduation, and the underclassmen and women of SDTV will sit down together over Zoom or Google Hangouts to plan out the future of SDTV. Summer specials? fall? Come join the conversation and be part of the future of SDTV. Join the Google Classroom code 5VRIWJS.
That's all the news for this show, but be sure to check back next episode for more updates on current events.
In a time when states are enacting stay-at-home orders and people are barred from entering buildings without masks on, a few teenagers are taking necessary risks by working. Today, we interview a teenage essential worker to see how some students are operating during these hard times.
Hi, my name is Gracie Alvis. I work at Henry's Sweet Retreat in Bethesda. I've been working here for over 2 years now, and I am working during this time of crisis. I am lucky enough that our place of work has made a lot of important changes, like we wear our masks, we have hand sanitizer everywhere, we have a protective barrier in front of our cash register, in addition to putting on gloves, changing our gloves as we change tasks, as we deal with different customers. We also only allow one customer in the store at a time, and we have been going through a rotation of about 5 to 6 employees versus our larger staff, sort of to make sure that we aren't all around each other all of the time, and it's a smaller crowd of people. Rather than introducing new employees into the store at this time, we're trying to keep it small. It feels really weird to be labeled an essential worker right now, especially working at a candy store, and especially as a teenager. It feels really strange, but it has been really nice to get out of the house and to be able to help people and be able to keep people sane in a time where everything is changing. So I'm really, really, really fortunate. Thank you.
Thank you for that interview. Now, for the first time in SDTV, we bring you 3 Boredom Busters. You'll learn 3 new and impressive activities you can do instead of scrolling through TikTok for hours on end. Let's see how to use Photoshop.
Thank you, Mackenzie. It's truly incredible what you can do with an image on Photoshop. Now for our second boredom buster, let's learn how to create an animation at home.
So you're still making at-home animations, so you decide to check out pre-made animations on Mixamo. You decide that you didn't like any, so here are some tips and tricks on how to make your own. Step 1 is to bring your character model into Blender. Step 2 is to rig it. Now here's a pretty optional step. Do you want your character to use stuff? Well, you need to add that stuff. Now that you have your assets put in, now you do what is called pose-to-pose animating, where you animate one position to another. The next step is to animate the in-betweens. Between each keyframe, you add more detail. Now remember, while animating you have to make sure to follow the 12 principles of animation, because if you don't, it's going to look very, very weird. The most important rule to take into account when animating is follow through and overlapping action. The next step is to add backgrounds, as I already have done here. Once you felt like you've added enough detail, you can go up to View and Viewport Render Animation to get a quick and easy way to test your animation without huge render times. Mine currently looks like this. Once you're happy with your character's animation, feel free to do it as many or as few times as you want depending on how many characters you want per scene. Now that you have your finalized animation, now you need to add more details, which include lighting. Once you have your nice lighting, it's time for the final step, which is to render the full animation. Mine looks like this. And with these tips and tricks, you can pretty much make any animation you want.
Thank you for that creative tutorial. Now, for our final boredom buster, we'll show you how some students like to spend their free time fishing.
Hey y'all, how's it going? It's Graham again back in Southern Maryland. I'm bringing you another episode of fishing. Last week we did some live bait fishing out on the Potomac with bloodworms. This week I'm going to show you guys how to do a little bit of fly fishing. So the first thing you're going to want when you're fly fishing is a gun. I'm kidding. This is a fly fishing rod. It just comes in a case that looks like a gun. Let me get a closer view for you guys. So, this is my fly rod. It looks shockingly similar to a gun, but it's not. First thing that I'm going to take out and show you guys is my flies right here. Here are the smaller ones. That's supposed to be like a water strider. And we got some really small fly ant looking like things. This is called a woolly mammoth. That's my favorite one. Got some crickets. And on the side we got some bigger flies, crayfish looking like thing. But we're gonna set that aside for now. Next thing that we have in here is the fly reel. Now this reel looks a bit different to the spinners that I used in the last segment, but it's actually fairly simple. You just reel it in like this, and the line comes in. It's really simple. But what you may notice about this is it's got some bright orange line there, and I don't know if you can see, but it's actually a lot thicker than normal line. So I'll get more into that a bit later, because that is one of the major components of a fly rod. And then the third thing that we have in the case is the actual rod itself. Now most fishing rods will break apart into 2 pieces. This rod breaks apart into 4 pieces just because of how super long it is. So I'm just going to put this together. Now we have the rod part set up. Let me show you the reel. Cool part about this reel is it's got 2 different types of line on it. It's got this clear line, which is just normal line. This is the same exact line that I used in the last segment when I caught the white perch. And then that line, it's got about maybe 3 foot of that line. And then it's got this cool, feels almost chalky. Like it's got this orange, bright orange line. And the thing about this line is that it's actually heavy. because when you're fly fishing, the flies that you're using, the flies aren't heavy. These flies will float on the surface of the water, so you have to find a different way to get that fly out away from the bank, and the way that you do that is with the line. So you're actually essentially throwing the line out into the water, and the line is then whipping this lighter clear line around, which then in turn whips the fly around and out to the water. And I'll show you guys that in a little bit. Let me just tie this on real quick. Go ahead and thread the line through. Thread the line through all these little eyelets. Alright, so I'm gonna pick out my fly. Let's see, I'll do the colorful one. Ooh, I got two. So here's the full fly rod. As you can see, it's quite long. So I'm just going to go ahead and make sure that the line is entangled at the end. And again, the way that this works is the line is the heavy part, and the line is what you're going to be using to make the fly go out farther. So what I'm going to do first is I'm going to grab onto some of the line and hold it with my left hand because I'm left-handed. And then I'm going to take out a fair amount of line down here. Let me back this a little bit. Okay, so I've got a fair amount of line out on the ground waiting to be cast out. And then I'm just going to it's essentially like you're trying to crack a whip, okay? And a good way to aim, some of that back in. A good way to aim is with your non-dominant foot. You point that foot wherever you want the line to go. And there are two main types of casts. There is the sidearm, which is what I'm doing now, and then there is the overhand. And both can be used. And then what you're going to do is, say you cast it out onto the water. Now you're going to pull back the line, pull it back in. I'm not taking it from the reel, I'm taking the line from out there. Pull it back in, you're pulling the fly across the water, and then you're letting the line go back out, okay? And every time you whip the rod back that way, if you're not holding on to the line here, it is going to pull more line out into the water. And eventually, there's going to be too much line out there for you to properly control. So you just want to make sure that you have a good amount of line out there.
For our final segment today, we'll learn a few new style tips, so pay close attention to see how even face masks can be worn to look stylish.
Hey, look at that! You're finally leaving the house after being locked up for a month. Wait, you're not seriously walking out like that, right? I mean, you could do way better. Let me show you how to style your mask better, okay? First, you can go for a monochromatic look. If your mask is a solid color, your entire outfit is the same solid color. Very edgy and stylish. Or you could switch the bottoms out for jeans and put a hat on to go for a K-pop star kind of look. If your mask has some sort of print, like this floral one here, match it with a piece of clothing. I'm masking the floral print in my mask to this floral dress I own. I'm also using the white in the mask to match it with the white tank top underneath. If you have a print that's very uncommon and unique, I guess, coordinate the colors with your outfit. This mask has orange, so I'm using warmer colors in my outfit. There are also some green accents in my masks, so alternatively, I paired it with a green t-shirt. Well, that's it. Happy styling and stay safe out there.
Finally, we want to clap out for a different group of people making life in our community a little more bearable. Today, let's clap out for fellow students. Even though we may be in a unique situation, students are sticking with it and learning via complex online school, as well as even learning new skills in their free time.
That concludes this episode of Social Distance Television. Remember to stay safe.
And check MCPS TV for more.